Hey, it's Jensen, and today I'm going to demonstrate the single leg hip thrust. I'll explain how the exercise is performed, common mistakes that people make during the exercise, as well as a regression and a progression, which makes it either easier or more challenging based on your ability with the exercise. So why would we want to include the single leg hip thrust in our fitness program? The core strength, glute activation, and hip stabilization of the movement will translate into strength and stability in the squat and the deadlift, which require a strong posterior chain as well as full range of hip extension. So this exercise carries over to a lot of athletic movements, so it may be a good exercise to include in various sports-specific training programs. Many of us also have tight hip flexor muscles due to the demands of sitting for most of the day, and this can cause a lot of lower back pain for some individuals. So by strengthening the glute muscles, you allow those hip flexors to relax a little bit, and hopefully over time you're able to reduce some of that back pain that is caused by sitting. Probably the main priority for a lot of women is to increase the size of their backside. So hopefully by including the single leg hip thrust in their fitness program, they see some noticeable gains quite quickly. All right, so let's jump into it and check out the exercise.
So we'll begin the exercise seated on the ground with our feet flat on the floor. The distance between your feet should be about hip width, and we want to keep our knees bent. Our back is resting against the padded bench. We'll want to extend our arms out along the width of the bench and keeping the point of contact in the same position throughout the duration of the movement. We're going to push through our heels, flex our glutes, and keep the core activated as we raise our hips. At the top of the rep, your knees should be flexed so that your shin and your thigh form a 90-degree angle. You may have to adjust your feet as necessary to attain this position. Once a stable position has been achieved bilaterally, which means two legs on the ground, elevate one leg in the air and keep it bent at the knee, as if pulling the knee towards the chest. This will recruit more glute activation throughout the movement. At the top of the rep, pause for 1 or 2 seconds for an isometric hold, and then slowly lower your hips back down to the starting position, keeping your back straight so that it doesn't overextend at the bottom of the rep. Try to keep your glutes off of the ground, and upon failure, where you can't do any more reps, you'll want to switch legs and attempt to do the same number of reps on that opposite leg. A common mistake that people make with this exercise is having your feet too far forward. What this does is it places more emphasis on your hamstrings instead of your glutes, and at the end of the exercise you may complain that your hamstrings are feeling really, really tight. And alternatively, if our feet are in too close, your quads are going to dominate. So to correct this, we're going to adjust our feet so that they're in line where our shins and our thigh are at 90 degrees at the top of the rep. And this will just put the emphasis back on the glutes, which is what we hope to isolate in this exercise. Another common mistake that people make is pushing off against the pad with their elbows. What this is doing is taking the load away from your glutes, and you're reducing the activation of the muscle. Now, to correct this, we're going to extend our arms out along the width of the bench, and we want to keep the weight in our upper back against the pad, and this point of contact is going to stay the same through the concentric and eccentric portion of the movement. And lastly, another common mistake that people make is overarching their lower back at the bottom of the movement. This may be caused by looking too far up towards the ceiling. So if you tuck your chin in and look down your body, it forces your spine to remain neutral through the whole range of motion. Now, if you find the single leg hip thrust to be too challenging, there's a regression of the exercise called a single leg glute bridge. And what we're doing is performing the same exercise but on the ground instead of having your back propped up against a bench. So this is a perfect exercise for someone that lacks the mobility to do the hip thrust on the bench. Or even if somebody's exercising at home, they don't have any equipment, but they want to include a glute exercise in their program. Alternatively, if you find the single leg hip thrust to be too easy, we can add resistance to the exercise by either using a straight bar, as I demonstrate here, or a weight plate, or we can even add a barbell. And instead of extending our arms out along the width of the bench, this time we're going to hold onto the straight bar just so that it remains fixed in place throughout the whole range of motion during the exercise. As you progress in weight, you may want to consider using a pad to attach to the straight bar or barbell. This will just relieve some of the tension or discomfort that's placed on your hips as we drive the weight up.
So I hope you found the video to be helpful. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments section below. And I hope to have a few more exercises brought to you in the near future. Thanks for watching.